I wasn't trying to get into trouble. Honestly, I just wanted some weed. My guy, Marcus, had been arrested the week before, and everyone I knew was scrambling for a new hookup. A friend at work told me about the dark web. He made it sound easy. Download Tor, find a marketplace, and boom, problem solved. It sounded sketchy, but curiosity got the better of me. That Friday night, I found myself hunched over my laptop, the room lit only by the glow of the screen. After some awkward Googling, I installed Tor and followed a series of links until I found a site claiming to sell everything under the sun. The site had an amateurish feel, like Craigslist, but for illegal stuff. There were pages for drugs, counterfeit money, weapons, and a section labeled Special Interests. I didn't click it at first, sticking to the drug listings. But as I scrolled, something caught my eye. It was a thumbnail for a live stream. The title read, "One Night Only, The Basement." I hesitated, my mouse hovering over the link. The thumbnail was blurry, but I could make out a dimly lit room with a single chair in the center. Something about it felt wrong. I told myself I wouldn't click, but then the stream title changed. "Welcome, voyeurs. Showtime in 5 minutes." I clicked. The stream loaded slowly, my heart pounding with each second. The screen was grainy, showing a concrete basement illuminated by a single dangling bulb. The chair was still there, but now someone was tied to it. A man, blindfolded and gagged. I leaned back, my stomach twisting. What the hell had I stumbled into? The chat beside the stream was alive with activity, users typing in fragmented sentences. "Do it. Show us the good stuff. Make him beg first." I was about to close the tab when a new message popped up, written in bold red text. "Welcome, new viewer, guest 317. That was me. The screen flickered and a figure stepped into view. They wore a mask, black leather with zippers where the mouth and eyes should be. They moved slowly, deliberately, circling the man in the chair like a predator. My hands shook as I tried to close the browser, but the window froze. Panic bubbled in my chest. I slammed the keys, my breath quickening, but the stream wouldn't close. Then the masked figure stopped, turning toward the camera. "Guest 317, they said, their voice distorted through a voice modulator. "Why don't you stay a while?" My blood ran cold. The figure in the mask tilted their head slightly, as if waiting for a response. Of course, they couldn't hear me, but the way they stared into the camera made it feel like they could. "Let's make this interactive," they continued, their voice calm but dripping with menace. "Guest 317, type something in the chat. Don't be shy." The chat exploded with messages. "Do it! He's calling you out. This is going to be good." I didn't type anything. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but every rational part of my brain screamed at me to walk away. I tried again to close the window. Nothing worked. "Not a talker, huh?" The figure chuckled softly, their masked face filling the screen. "That's okay. Watching is participation too." They turned back to the man in the chair, who was now struggling against his bindings. The gag muffled his screams, but the desperation in his muffled cries was clear. The masked figure picked up something from a table just out of frame, a long, gleaming knife. I couldn't take it anymore. I yanked the power cord from my laptop. The screen went black, plunging the room into silence. For a moment, I just sat there, heart pounding, staring at the darkened screen. Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. My phone buzzed. I grabbed it instinctively, expecting a notification from a social media app or maybe an email. Instead, the screen showed an unknown number. The message was simple. "Why did you leave, guest 317? I dropped the phone like it had burned me. The air in my room felt heavier, oppressive. How did they know my number? I hadn't entered any personal information. The phone buzzed again. Another message. This time it included a photo, a grainy image of me sitting at my desk. My heart stopped. The photo was recent. I was wearing the same hoodie, the same look of frozen terror on my face. I turned toward my bedroom window, but the curtains were drawn. Slowly I stood and peeked through a gap. The street outside was empty, bathed in the pale glow of a flickering streetlight. The phone buzzed again. This time the message read, "Look closer." Against every instinct, I turned back to the window. My eyes scanned the darkness. At first, I saw nothing. Then I noticed a figure standing just outside the circle of light cast by the street lamp. They were still, their face obscured by shadow. I stumbled back, my hands shaking. My phone buzzed again, but I couldn't bring myself to look. I grabbed my keys and bolted for the door. I drove aimlessly for hours, my eyes darting to the rearview mirror every few seconds. The streets were eerily empty, the occasional passing car the only sign of life. I eventually stopped at a 24-hour diner, the harsh fluorescent lights inside feeling like a sanctuary. I ordered a coffee, my hands trembling as I clutched the mug. I checked my phone, no new messages. Maybe I'd lost them. Maybe this was all some elaborate prank, though I had no idea how anyone could have pulled it off. As I sat there trying to calm myself, a man slid into the booth across from me. He wore a black hoodie, the hood pulled low over his face. "Guest 317, he said softly. I froze, my blood turning to ice. "How did you—" The man held up a finger to silence me. "You saw something you shouldn't have. That's a problem." My mind raced. I didn't mean to. I just clicked the wrong—" "It doesn't matter," he interrupted. "You're involved now." I leaned back, my stomach churning. "I don't want anything to do with this. Please, just leave me alone." The man tilted his head, studying me. "That's not how this works." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small USB drive. "Take this. It'll explain everything." I stared at the USB drive as if it were a live grenade. "Number, I'm not taking that," I said, my voice shaky but resolute. The man slid it across the table toward me, his gloved fingers lingering on the edge. "You don't have a choice. Take it, or the next photo you get won't just be of you sitting at your desk." A chill ran down my spine. His voice was calm, almost polite, but the threat behind it was unmistakable. Slowly, I reached out and grabbed the drive, my hand trembling. "What's on it?" I asked. "You'll see," he said, standing abruptly. He adjusted his hood and turned to leave, pausing for just a moment. "You shouldn't have clicked that stream, Guest 317. Now you're part of the show." And with that, he disappeared into the night. I drove home in silence, the USB drive resting on the passenger seat like a cursed artifact. Every shadow I passed felt like it was watching me, every parked car hiding someone waiting for the right moment to pounce. By the time I got home, my paranoia had reached a fever pitch. I locked every door and window, double-checking each one before sitting down at my desk. My laptop stared back at me, its dark screen reflecting my pale, sweat-slicked face. Against my better judgment, I plugged in the USB drive. A single folder appeared on the screen, labeled, "For your eyes only." I clicked it, my hands trembling. Inside was a video file and a text document. The file was named Introduction, and the document simply read, "Play the video." No skipping. My finger hovered over the trackpad. Every instinct told me to stop, to pull the drive out and toss it into the nearest river, but my curiosity overpowered my fear. The video opened to static, the distorted audio buzzing like a swarm of angry insects. Slowly, an image came into focus, the same basement I'd seen in the live stream. The chair was empty now, but blood stained the floor beneath it. A voice crackled through the speakers, the masked figure's voice. "Welcome, Guest 317. You've made quite an impression." The screen flickered and the image changed. It was my apartment, my living room. The view was from a low angle, as if someone had set up a hidden camera. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The camera panned slowly, focusing on the hallway leading to my bedroom. "We've been watching you," the voice continued, "and now you'll watch us." The screen cut to another live stream. This one was clearer, more deliberate. The same basement. A new person tied to the chair, a woman this time. She was crying, struggling against her restraints. The chat on the side of the screen was alive again. "Let's make it painful." "What's next? Is Guest 317 still here?" The masked figure stepped into view, holding a knife in one hand and a camera in the other. They lifted the camera, pointing it directly at the screen. "Are you watching, Guest 317? They asked, their tone playful, almost mocking. "This is your show now." I slammed the laptop shut, my heart racing. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in. I grabbed my phone, ready to call the police, but as soon as I unlocked it, a new message appeared. "If you call anyone, she dies." Another message followed, this one a video. It was live footage of the woman in the basement, her eyes wide with terror. The timestamp at the corner of the screen confirmed it was happening in real time. I was trapped. They had me, and they knew it. The next 24 hours were a blur of paranoia and desperation. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every noise outside my apartment sent me into a panic. I knew they were watching me, waiting for me to do something, but I didn't know what they wanted. Then, at 3 a.m., my phone buzzed again. "Come to 815 Ravenwood, alone, midnight. Don't be late." I didn't want to go to 815 Ravenwood, but I knew I had no choice. The address was in a part of town I avoided even in daylight, an industrial wasteland of abandoned warehouses and shattered streetlights. At 11:55 p.m., I parked a block away, my heart pounding as I made the long walk to the building. It was exactly what I expected. A crumbling warehouse, its windows shattered and graffiti scrawled across its walls. The massive steel doors were slightly ajar, a faint light spilling out into the night. I hesitated, every fiber of my being screaming at me to turn back. But I pushed forward. Inside, the warehouse was empty except for a single chair in the center of the room. On it sat a laptop, its screen glowing in the darkness. As I approached, the screen came to life. It was the masked figure again, their leather mask reflecting the pale light of the screen. "Welcome, Guest 317, they said, their voice distorted. "You've been quite entertaining to watch." "What do you want from me?" I shouted, my voice echoing off the cavernous walls. The figure chuckled. "You stumbled into something you weren't supposed to see, and now, you're part of it." The laptop's screen flickered, showing live footage of my apartment. The camera moved slowly, panning through my empty living room. "If you want this to end," the masked figure continued, "all you have to do is join us. A small price to pay for your freedom, don't you think?" The footage cut to the woman in the basement. She was alive, barely, her head drooping as she hung from the ropes binding her to the chair. "Or," they added, their voice dripping with malice, "you can walk away. But you'll never know when we'll come for you, or who we'll come for first." I stared at the screen, my chest tightening. My mind raced, weighing my options. Every path seemed worse than the last. But before I could decide, the screen flickered and went black. The faint sound of distorted laughter echoed through the warehouse. "Good luck, Guest 317, the voice said, disembodied now. "We'll be watching." The laptop shut off, the room plunging into darkness. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. Every noise, every shadow felt like a threat. I tried to go back to my normal life, but nothing felt normal anymore. My phone kept buzzing with unknown numbers, the messages always cryptic and unnerving. "We see you. Don't forget us." A week later, I moved out of my apartment, changed my number, and deleted everything from my laptop. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't be enough. Because somewhere out there, they were still watching, and I would never be free.